Hello and welcome to It's About Youth. I'm Fana Sheikh. This is the show that talks about issues that matter to youth. Now, over 180,000 refugees reside here in Malaysia, according to UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. They are registered there. While they receive support from these agencies as well as human rights NGOs, Malaysia still lacks a clear refugee policy. Now, to mark World Refugee Day, we have with us two stunning young men, Prince from United World Academy, a Rohingya refugee as well as Mustafa, co-founder of Youth Empowerment Support. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Welcome.
Right. Let's get to the basis of why we are here, basically to mark World Refugee Day and to talk about the plight of refugees here in Malaysia. Prince, let's start with you. If you don't mind giving me a current overview of the current refugee situation here in Malaysia.
Well, let's start with numbers. There are around 200,000 refugees, plus minus, in Malaysia right now who are registered under United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. But not all of them have access to basic rights. Well, all of them don't have basic rights in Malaysia. But then again, they are protected under United Nations, and they are given the UNHCR card, which again also provides at least the basic access to a few things, which is sufficient for survival. Out of which 200,000 refugees, there are about 150,000 refugees who are Rohingya refugees. I'm one of them. I'm a Rohingya refugee, but I'm born in Malaysia. So although they have very limited access over here in Malaysia, it is a safe sanctuary compared to where we or my ancestors or my parents came from. It is a transit country for us to stay here on a temporary period of time, and then we move to the next country, or we go back to our home country when it becomes safe, or when it becomes peaceful. And UNHCR usually give us the option to either do that, or they will send us to third country, which is US, Canada,
exactly.
Europe,
Australia,
right? Australia.
New Zealand,
yeah. And there are many other refugees as well. There are Palestine, Syrian, Somalia, and also they were Sri Lankan. I think they are still. I'm not sure. They're Pakistani refugees, Afghani, and yeah, I think that's the number that we have right now. So maybe you can add on a bit.
Right. We want to talk about some of the biggest challenges, the refugee community face, you yourself face, on a daily basis. Mustafa, let's start with you. What do you think of the challenges or the plight of refugees here in Malaysia?
I think despite the numbers that he talked about, there's a lot of them. Some are registered, some are still yet to be registered, some are still holding the papers. So I think there are challenges they're facing, because I think most of them, first when it comes to education, there's a lot of them who don't have the proper education. I mean, there are some schools, some community schools where they still go to school, and healthcare as well. So for example, there are those who are registered, but they still haven't got the cards. And for them, it's hard for them to access, like for example, an accident happens or something, go to the hospital, they'll first ask for the card, for example. Right. And because they're not registered, it's hard for them to get the help, yeah. And I think other challenges that are facing is that, if I'm not really mistaken, but there's few surveys that we do, most of them, they don't have an idea on where's the next information they get when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education. Right. Maybe there are some places where they give, when it comes to health, they give maybe less for the refugees, and most of them, they don't know. So that's why, for example, there's like my NGO and Prince NGO, we do that kind of help so for them it's easy.
So a little bit more information, give them a bit more information on how to navigate their life here in Malaysia.
Exactly.
Right. Prince, being born here, but your parents are here, your whole family is here. Do you think, with some of the challenges that Mustafa outlined just now, is it the same with how your family is handling it, your community is handling it, and do you think the situation has improved over the years?
I'm born over here, so for me, alhamdulillah, I think we have somewhat managed to find different ways to navigate through that channels, and we always keep ourselves informed. But then again, the challenges that comes, especially for those who are just who just arrived over here.
Right.
So many refugees who have just arrived in the past 5 to 10 years, they find it really hard to get access to this kind of information, and also the struggle is that for them to adapt to the culture over here. You see, one thing that happens when this refugee comes over here, there is no cultural orientation. There is no education about the laws, the do's, the don'ts, and then the access. So these are the things that has been missing, which makes it really difficult for the refugee community to get hands-on support and help. Honestly, they are access to this kind of help in a few places, but then yet not many people are aware of it, right? There are not many people aware of it. So I think this is a really is an issue that has not been looked into, and yeah. But alhamdulillah, like, you know, I have been doing my best to, like, you know, to educate our people, because I'm a teacher. I try my best to not just educate in the classroom, but also, like, you know, on the social media as well. Where can they get this kind of information? Who should they reach out to? Which NGOs are there to, like, you know, to get this?
Yeah, I mean, and both of you are doing an amazing job in terms of advocating for refugee rights, and also, you know, making sure the refugee community, not just the one that you are in, but also overall, are having this kind of information and access to services and basic healthcare and basic education that you very much need to survive on a daily basis, right? I want to talk about, you know, some of the misconception about refugees that we have here in Malaysia. I understand there are a lot. I'm pretty sure you guys are laughing, so I'm pretty sure there are a lot. Do you mind addressing them? Because, you know, this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. What are some of the misconceptions that I think local Malaysians have when it comes to, you know, refugees here in the country?
Refugees or Rohingyas are uneducated, dress up really bad, they smell bad, they don't know how to say thank you.
Look at you. Look at Mustafa. I don't see you guys dressing really bad.
The other side of the story, you know, it would have been totally different.
Like, you know, uneducated, they don't know how to say thank you, ungrateful, and they are filthy. Well, to be honest, to a certain extent, there is a few small population of people in our community who represent that. But then again, we cannot take a very small number of samples to represent the entire population.
There's always bad apples in any community.
Exactly. So that is what I have been trying to, like, you know, trying to say to the community and to the, like, you know, to the world. Let's not just focus on those who cannot speak up for themselves to attack them. It's easy to attack those who have no rights to speak up for themselves most of the time, right? Like, you know, look, I'm trying to stand over here and trying to, like, you know, defend myself because why? I can speak. I am educated. Alhamdulillah, I have been blessed with that opportunity. I can be here to be around with you guys. I think I am probably, like, you know, one in probably like hundreds who has received this opportunity. Why? Because, like, you know, I went through that intervention. I call it the educational intervention, which is why I'm here today. And the blessings that I have received, I think, is about time to share. Because I've always asked myself, why, as a Rohingya refugee, I mean, I always ask Allah, why, as a Rohingya refugee, you have blessed me so much? But then again, when I was young, my parents always remind me to pay it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward. And now at this stage,
give back to the community.
At this stage, I feel like using the platform, which is my social media, educating them how to behave well, how to, like, respect the culture, especially where you are, how to, like, you know, how to say thank you. You see, but then again, it's kind of hard to blame them as well, because most of the refugees that come from our home country, I'm talking about Rohingya community. So they have been stripped from all the basic rights for decades. So they have been put in such a way that they are not civilized. So how are we going to expect them to behave well when they come to a beautiful country where everything is systematic, where everything is centralized, or, like, you know, everyone is, like, so firm and proper, and then you suddenly,
yeah, I mean,
like most of the people that I'm surrounded with, and then when they come over here and they see all these people, and then instead of learning or get the opportunity to be oriented with Malaysian culture,
Right.
they go on a full survival mode.
Yes.
They just want to go out hunting. When I say hunting means for food lah. They just want to get jobs quickly as possible.
Survival mode.
Right, survival
Yeah.
mode. No one talks about thriving. Everybody talks about surviving.
Yeah.
Because once I believe, what I believe is that once a person become educated, that's when they feel like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
think I should do more in life. I should thrive.
Right.
So,
Mustafa,
Mustafa,
what
what do you
about
think?
Cultural orientation that he talks about, you know, since we're here, is us to give back. So if we do like the integration between locals and the refugee, then that both of them, they will have good information on what they do and what they are about. So for example, I was a teacher. I was teaching Bahasa Melayu. So my
You teach Bahasa Melayu?
Bahasa Melayu.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
In the school, in the youth empowerment support, you know. So in my mind is that if I teach them, kalau saya mengajar diorang lah bahasa Melayu kan, so senang lah diorang boleh berjalan, fahaman. So nanti, because of integration, right? So now the locals can have a very good understanding, you know. Now they get to know each other better. Maybe sometime I think the language barrier actually plays a big part when it comes to like the culture and the language barrier. So if we can take off that language barrier, we put it in there, I think it will play a big part where even the locals will now start to look different. Okay, you know, now it's different. Now I know who they are. Now I know how they behave. Now I can communicate with them, you know.
It all falls under education.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what he has
So
done.
it's like you always have to give back. So I was teaching the adults mostly, like the moms, the kids, so they literally still, they have that basic for them to move around here.
And I think this is coming from, you know, Malaysians. I feel that these are the part that they are missing. You know, they are missing the fact that, you know, refugees here in Malaysia just want to survive, one, you know, trying their best to survive, and two, trying to give back and trying their very best to make the refugee community thrive and not take jobs from Malaysians and not, you know, stuff like that we see people throw at refugees that are baseless and untrue.
Is the job thing first, like, oh, they come, they're taking the job.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot, actually, rather than the rest, you know.
The refugees are here to steal all the local jobs, like, you know, all these things that has been told to us, like, you know, on social media, like, you know, it goes viral. Oh, these people are taking away our jobs. That people taking away the jobs. You guys will be jobless soon. And, you know, lately we means Rohingya community, I'm not sure about Somali community, we have been compared to the, I don't know whether I can say it, the Yahudis, the Israelis. So what they were saying is that they make this comparison. They say, look at Yahudis, look at Israelis. When they came to Palestine to ask for help, what happened? The Palestinians were like so nice and stuff. So we have been compared to that. They say like, you know, look at Rohingyas. They'll be like that one day. No matter how much mercy you give, eventually they will like, you know, they will take advantage of you eventually and kick you out of the country. I don't know about you, but then if you go through my social media right now, you just open the one, not one, all of them.
Nasty comments.
Rohingya Yahudi, Rohingya Israeli.
Right.
So yeah, it's hurtful, but life goes on.
We want to address this, obviously. You know, we'll go towards, you know, how we can sort of recondition and look at better solutions when it comes to refugee situation here in Malaysia, but after this break. Hello and welcome back to It's About Youth. I'm Fana Sheikh, and today we are joined by two very young, stunning young men who are here with us to talk about World Refugee Day. And before the break just now, we talked about the plight of refugees here in Malaysia, and now we want to look at, you know, the pathway towards a clear refugee policy with Prince and as well as Mustafa. Right. So we talked about some of the challenges faced by refugees here in Malaysia. Before we get into, you know, the solution bit, I want you guys to share a little bit about your work in terms of, or your experience in advocating for refugee rights here in Malaysia within your community and also overall. Let's start with you, Mustafa.
Well, basically, youth empowerment support is like providing help, support, and the teaching. We also have a school over there. So most of the experiences that we do to actually give back to the community and help the community is that we do, for example, we do workshops, a lot of workshops that has to do with the community. So mostly we do mental health workshops we do. So because we've received, sometimes we do surveys to see how is the community doing, how are they, you know. Some of them, there are a lot of things that they go through, now we don't know about. Now we have to bring some other NGOs and make a workshop now so that they know ways to direct next. We also did, other experience that we did was we did mobile clinics where they did health screening, because we found out a lot of them, they have complications, but now they don't know who to go to, which hospital, how. So we have some other NGOs that come in, so we do those health screenings, you know, and checkups, and where to go next, and which clinic is it for them to go, which is budget friendly that they can do. We also provide like skills, soft skills, you know, because, you know, just because it's a refugee, most of the refugees, like, there's very talented. Some are cooks, some are chefs. It's just that because we're here now, no one, you know, knows. So first, I think last we did a bakery, like a bakery workshop, where there's a lot of women that came who are very talented. So those kind of skills, like, they give them a little bit open up on how to move, you know. Maybe some of them, they open like small business in their house, you know, that they can sell. And then the kids or the adults sometimes provide like English classes for the adults. So now they know how to kind of move around. I think the other most important thing we did, public speaking classes. Some of these few things that we did, for example, the bigger things like health screenings and the public speaking, the bakery, it seemed they demanded all the time for them to do. The other thing we did is that we always try to do every year. For example, we do like a tournament. So the whole idea of the tournament is we're actually trying to integrate between locals and the refugees, yeah. So we also bring, because Youth Empowerment Support doesn't only work on Somali. We actually try to work on every community, Rohingya, Syrian, you know, Palestine, and refugees. So last time we did 2 futsal tournaments, but the whole point was not about the tournament. So we bring like 2 local.
It's not about competition.
Yeah,
or
it's not about
like
competition.
That.
Yeah,
It's
we're trying to get them back together. You know,
Right.
So there were actually 2 local teams, 2 Malaysian teams, and then there was a lot of Malaysian spectators that came there. So for us, the idea was, let's get them to know each other, you know, to kind of integrate. Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Prince? The work that you do in United World Academy, how has the advocating for refugee within the community, how has that been for you?
So I'm a teacher. By profession, I'm a teacher. I teach English, maths, computer skills. I like to see things on more local perspective. And I like to understand why many of us refugees, Rohingya refugees, are hated. And I try to like tackle that issue in a more structured manner. So what I do is that I try to teach my students about Malaysian culture, about Malaysian tradition, about the norms, the do's, the don'ts, and all these things. And I realized that it's not just the kids that I have to teach, it's the adults, because they are the one who's out there who are out and about and who are working in like all the 3D sectors, like, you know, the high demand, dangerous, and yeah, and dirty. So I teach them in a way that once they learn, they will be more open to be able to communicate with the locals over here, and also better be perceived in a more respectful way. And in this process, I also get an opportunity to to help the students, my students who are like male, female, especially the female, to prevent them from becoming a victim of child marriage. Because, right, it's a very common thing among the refugees.
We did have that too, yeah, SGBV. We had a workshop about that, you know, as SGBV, you know, sexual gender violence and all that. We did a workshop just so that we can guide them. So there's a lot of NGOs that do that help, but there's not a lot of refugees aware of it. Okay, if this happened to me, who am I going to report to?
This is what we were mentioning in the beginning, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not many people are aware of it. So that is how I use my social media. That's the next part, where I use my social media to amplify these issues and trying to say, hey, there are different channels. And I take it on my social media to teach about Malaysian culture and everything.
Right. So do you think, you know, from the work that you do, And also, for the refugee community itself, is there enough support received from, I would say, NGOs, international organizations, but also government when it comes to, advocating for the protection and rights of refugees?
So I think the word enough itself, it is different from person to person. Alhamdulillah, what I've received over here in Malaysia is enough for me. But then let's talk about those who are in worse situation than me. So although many of us have received enough, but then there are a lot more who needs a bit more. And yeah, like, if you are talking about that perspective, so it really depends on person to person. So yeah, I think I would say that now. Yeah.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, we're grateful for what we have already, because living in the country already is one of the things, Yeah, like let him in. We can have a stay here. That's already the biggest thing. Yeah, there are some other NGOs that do provide help. We try to move around, try to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, just use what you have already. Exactly. Be grateful, all the time. So there are some other NGOs that are, trying to help. And one more thing, I think I left it before in the previous question. Yeah, we also did, we do food distribution for every Bulan Puasa. Right. And we also do that to kind of integrate with the foreign, right, with the local as well. Like we did for the Rohingya, we did for the Syrian, we did for the locals, the B40s, the locals we go, So the whole idea is that we're distributing, but at the same time, we're trying to integrate.
Right, yeah. I mean, it seems like, it's a community taking care of itself, also getting a bit of help from NGOs and international organizations, but also the community taking charge and making sure that, a lot of the misconception and the hatred that we have among Malaysians or among everyone is being quieted down by all this work, hopefully.
But then again, I would also like to emphasize that over the years, there were many government initiatives that has been ongoing, that has been implemented to help the refugees over here. But then again, not many people are aware of it.
Right.
Not many people are aware of it. Like, we were saying about this, the access to information. And these initiatives that was not publicized, I think that's what made people think like, maybe they are not receiving enough. But actually, there are many things that has been put out there, but then not the right people are receiving it. So you see, like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, those who are supposed to be receiving, they don't have the information to get those access.
Right.
So, but then again, there are also certain areas that,
right.
Yeah.
What sort of support would the refugee community need at this point in time, you feel? What's lacking in terms of supporting your work here with the refugee community? Support from anywhere. It can be from government, NGOs, or even the community itself. What do you need and what's lacking, and how can, everyone chip in and we as a community help?
I think education has to be one of it. I'm not saying it's education where we all have to go to the same school. No, but I think education is one of the important things that they have to do. And I also think healthcare as well. So, because some refugees, they do have a little bit work, so they get a little bit of help. And some of them, there are some who still go through, let's say, financial problems, but I think so far that's probably it. But education is one of the biggest things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would totally agree with him. Education plays a key role. This is the kind of support that, like, would benefit a lot the refugee community, in a sense that, of course, like, the public or the government cannot accommodate to the refugees over here into the public schools. But what I would suggest is that there are many, during the pandemic, if you notice, everything was online, right? Like, the syllabus were taught online, the same thing. They made a system online. So which means, and now it's kind of like, I wouldn't say obsolete, but not many people are using it. What if you can get at least, like, standard 1 to standard 6 syllabus for the refugees, so that they can get access at home, self-learning, and because it's all like, self-learning. step, right? Because I truly believe in that, like, we have to move forward. Because in our school, I teach my kids, my students, computer skills, browsing, and also like, online learning. So even if you have this kind of structured learning system, then the kids, or like, the students over here, the refugee students would benefit from this. And since it is also localized, they also would learn a lot of Malaysian culture, Malaysian basic laws, and we can also scale it up to almost everyone over here, Keita. Because if you look at primary school studies, that is very similar to like every school, every country. Like, but once you go to tertiary, it becomes a bit different. And also, like, a lot of time, refugees, their future, like, is not here. It is true, like, we refugees cannot live here forever.
Right.
But at least, like, that would give them a solid ground.
I think education is very important.
Very
Like
important.
after they finish high school, where do they go next from there?
Correct.
There are some few universities that do accept they do provide scholarships, but not all of them. So after they finish, most of them, they just stay at home. They don't know where to move the next.
It provides a pathway towards getting a solid ground, job, and all that as well. Starts with education. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. I do want short, brief sentence, if you can, to mark World Refugee Day from the both of you. If there's any message of hope or message in general that you'd like to put out there for World Refugee Day. Let's start with Mustafa.
Oh.
Brief one.
Where do I think? Actually, there is a World Refugee Festival that's coming up. It's coming up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the 8th time. So I'm really hoping that things will change. Things will never be the same. I really hope the government done a lot of help, which is I'm really grateful. I'm really thankful for it. And I believe that they could still change and provide a little bit more help in the future. So strongly from believing that, yeah.
People hate what they don't know and what they don't understand. I would say be the one to educate, to spread love, and to spread harmony and unity.
Right.
Go and teach. That's it.
And that's nice words to wrap it up, to wrap our show, to mark World Refugee Day. You've heard it from them, the plights of refugees, the work that they do here, and the kind of support that they receive, and they hope to get even more. We hope to drive this conversation even further. We hope that there's a clear refugee policy in the future, and we hope that everyone is listening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Fana Sheh.